Hello, what's up? I hope all of you are doing great. Welcome to the revision session of SA 402. Now, sir, these board notes that I'll be referring in this video, you can download it from our Telegram channel. The link is in the description. Before moving ahead, it is my request, please like this video so that this video can reach more number of students who want more such type of revisions in English. So, sir, in this revision, we are not only going to cover the concepts, but at the same time, whatever are the questions that have been asked by ICI in the study material RTP and MTP, that also we are going to cover properly. Okay. Let's begin with essay 402. Sir, it says what? Audit considerations relating to an entity using a service organization. So what happens is, let's say I did a client, name of the client was Mentor Graphics. Now, sir, Mentor Graphics is the user entity. It is using the payroll accounting services provided by DKM Solutions, which is a service organization. Now, when the payroll accounting is done by DKM Solution, tell me, is it the part of financial reporting process? Yes, sir. This service is affecting the financial reporting. It is relevant to audit. So whatever are the internal controls in the service organization, they became relevant to us for the audit. So how do we test these controls? How do we understand these control? This discussion is contained in SA 402. So I hope you understood the relevance of SA 402. Yes, sir. So SA 402 says whenever your client, that is the user entity, it is using certain services provided by the service organization, and those services affect the financial reporting, which is relevant to audit. So you also need to consider the internal control of service organization. Okay, sir. So let's say instead of payroll accounting, DKM Solutions was providing security guard service. Now such type of service does not affect the financial reporting, so it is not relevant for your audit. So you can divide this standard into 5 parts. First of all, see whether the service is relevant to financial reporting. If yes, you can understand the service properly. For this, you can take type 1 or type 2 report to support your understanding. Then you can do the test of control if required. And lastly, we will discuss about the reporting part. Clear, boss? Clear, sir. So let's talk about the first topic first. How to know if the service organization service are relevant to the user entity financial reporting process. So they will be relevant when they will be affecting the whole financial reporting process. Sir, how the financial statements are prepared? First of all, there is a transaction, event or condition. After this, it is recorded, posted in the general ledger, rectified. After this, the financial statements are prepared. And lastly, we have the adjustment entries. So these are the same points given here. First of all, everyone, please look at the board. First of all, there will be transaction. That means SCOTs. These are not the SCOTs you do in the gym. SCOTs means significant class of transaction like revenue or purchases. Then you see how the information system captures the events and conditions other than SCOTs. So if there is a litigation against the entity, how the entity has created the provision for that litigation. Okay, sir. Then see how the procedures are done, and similarly how the accounting records are updated manually or in automated form, through which the transactions are initiated, recorded, processed, rectified, transferred to the general ledger and reported in the financial statements. Then you will talk about the financial reporting process to prepare the financial statement, and after the financial statements are prepared, we pass the adjustment entries. That means control surrounding the journal entries, including non-standard journal entries, UNNU. UNNU means adjustment entries, non-recurring entries, unusual entries. So like you used to prepare the financial statements in Inter also, we at the end always talk about the adjustment entries. Examples of adjustment entry: creating a provision for doubtful debt, calculating the closing stock at the lower of cost or NRV. So these are certain adjustment entries that you need to pass. So this is the same topic that is given in your notes. How to know if the service organization services are relevant to financial reporting. These points you need to cover. Now on this concept, ICI asked a question in May 18 exam. Let's see how the question works. In this question, there is a company, Durafone Mobile Company, which is the user entity. It is taking the revenue accounting services from said solutions. Okay, sir. Now it says, what are the factors to be considered related to the financial reporting? So factors means the whole financial reporting process you will talk about. SCOTs, significant class of transactions, events and condition, how they are recorded in the financial statement. Then you will talk about the procedures and accounting records. manual or automated, through which the transactions are initiated, recorded, processed, rectified, transferred to the general ledger, and ultimately posted in the financial statement. Lastly, you will talk about the financial reporting process and the journal entry, including the non-standard journal entries, that is UNU. UNU means adjustment entries, non-recurring entries, and unusual entry. Is this concept crystal clear? Yes, sir. Then we move to the next concept. Acha, before we move to the next concept, let's just revise the auditor objective. Objective is to understand the services provided by service organization so that you can assess the risk of material misstatement. And once the risk assessment is done, you can perform the further audit procedure, that is the test of controls. Okay, sir. Two types of reports that we discuss in this standard are type 1 report and type 2 report. Type 1 report talk about the description and design of internal control at a specified date. Type 2 report also talks about the description and design, but it additionally talks about the operating effectiveness of the control throughout the period. This we discuss in detail in SAE 3402. Okay, sir. Now, sir, comes the next topic, obtaining the understanding of the services provided by the service organization, asked in MTP November 24. How do we obtain this understanding? Please come to your board notes. Okay, sir. So first of all, you understand what are the services provided by the service organization to the user entity. Nature and significance of the services provided to user entity. For this, you can take help of the contract, user manuals, or the type 1 or type 2 report provided by the service auditor. Then see, these services are related to processing of what transaction, nature and materiality of transaction processed by the service organization. So let's take an example of the service. Let's say service organization is providing payroll accounting service. Can I say it is a significant service? Yes, sir. To process employee benefit expense, can I say it is a material transaction? Yes, sir. Now, sir, the next point says degree of interaction between the user entity and service organization. Interaction means how the user entity and service organization coordinate with each other. So user entity must be sending the data, service organization is doing the accounting, and then user entity is authorizing the accounts. Okay, okay, sir. And lastly, nature of relationship between the user entity and service organization, including the contractual terms. So these are the 4 points you need to consider. First 2 points are very easy. Nature and significance of service. This service is related to which transaction? That means nature and materiality of transaction. Significance of service, materiality of transaction. What is the rhyming of transaction? Interaction. Say with me, interaction, transaction, interaction. Degree of interaction between the two, user entity and SO. And lastly, whenever you have interaction, it develops relationship. Oh, nature of relationship between the user entity and SO. Are the 4 points clear? Yes, sir. So these are the same 4 points you will find here. Let's revise it again. Revision in the revision. Nature of the services and significance of the services. You can take this understanding from user manual, contract, and service audit report. Then nature and materiality of the transaction. These services are related to processing of which transaction. Degree of interaction. ICI has given an example. It will be a high degree of interaction if the user entity is authorizing the transactions processed by SO. And lastly, you see the nature of relationship. That means what are the contractual terms. Okay, okay, sir. Now let's do the question from the question bank. Question number 2. Read this question. This question is very easy because it clearly says how you can obtain the understanding of how G Limited uses the service of the outsourced agency, that is the service organization. Read this question with me. It is amazing question. Sir, what is happening? There is a company Indo Limited. CA Harish, which is the auditor, observed that processing of accounting data was given to a third party, which is a service organization. Service organization is recording the transactions and processing the related data. What factors they will consider regarding the nature and extent of activities undertaken by service organization to see if they are relevant to audit. So now whenever you want to understand the nature and extent of activity, which topic will you write in exam? Sir, understanding wala topic. We will talk about the understanding wala topic. Sir, understanding wala topic means वही 4 points, nature and significance of service, nature and materiality of transaction. Transaction से you get interaction, and after interaction we develop a relationship. Nature of the relationship. Are these 4 points clear? Yes, sir. Now, Baba, we went to the next topic and I asked you, understanding can be taken from where? So you can take it from the user entity, or you can contact the service organization through the user entity, because service organization will not take your call. So you can contact the service organization through the user entity. If they are still not taking the call, you can visit them. If you are not ready to visit, you have pain in your legs, then you can ask another auditor to perform the procedure. And lastly, you can get a type 1 or type 2 report. Now, sir, the question is, there is a user entity, there is a service organization. This type 1 or type 2 report is related to what? So service organization is doing the payroll accounting services. We want a report on the internal controls related to this payroll accounting service. Okay, sir. So this report on the internal controls of the payroll accounting service, this is given by the service auditor. This is given by the service auditor. Now this report can be type 1 or type 2. Let's revise type 1, type 2 in detail. Take 2 sips of water and get ready. Ready, sir. Please focus on the board. If I talk about the type 1 report, it first of all talk about service organization description of the system, how they provide the payroll services. Then a written assertion by the management of service organization that whatever description we have given, it is a fair description. Whatever controls we have implemented, they are suitably designed at a specified date. Then on this, service auditor will give the assurance report, giving a reasonable assurance on the above matters. Okay, sir. Type 2 report is also like the type 1 report. Description of the system, description of the system. Written assertion, written assertion. These 2 points and these 2 points are also same, but the additional point is, here the management asserts that the controls at service organization are also operating effectively. Here it was at a specified date, but here it is throughout the specified period. Again a reasonable assurance, again a reasonable assurance. But because you are giving an assurance on the operating effectiveness, you also need to describe the test of control and the results. Are the differences clear to you? Yes, sir. These are crystal clear. So, Baba, till now, we have covered this topic. Then it says, as a user auditor, that means auditor of the user entity, you need to see whether you need to evaluate the design and implementation of controls at the user entity which are related to the services provided by service organization. Then see whether you got sufficient understanding about the services by SO from the user entity. If you are not able to get the understanding, what are the 4 points I told you? 4 marker question can come from this part. Do it properly. Sir, we will call the service organization. Will they pick your call? No, sir. Contact via the user entity. Second point. If they are not picking the call, you can visit. But if your legs are paining, you can ask another auditor to do the procedure. And the last point was, so the last point was, we can get a type 1 or type 2 report. Now the next topic says, using a type 1 or type 2 report to support the user's understanding of service organization control. So let's do this topic. This topic was also asked in your May 25 exams. Okay, so let's revise this topic. Everyone look at the board. Using a type 1 or type 2 report to support the user's understanding of service organization and its controls. So before you understand their controls, be satisfied about the service auditor's independence, competence. Competence, you don't need to check if he's a chartered accountant, and see whether he is doing the work as per the standard. So standard means SAE 3402 that we are going to cover in the next session. Okay, sir. Then, sir, you need to evaluate 3 types of control. Control at the service organization, description and design of control at the service organization at a date or appropriate period. For a type 1 report, it is at a date. For type 2, it is for a period. Then the user entity's normal controls, which are relevant for audit. And lastly, complementary user entity control identified by service organization. If yes, then see whether user entity has designed and implemented such control. Let's understand these 3 types of control with the help of some practical example, not relevant from exam point of view, but it will help you in remembering these 3 points. What can be the user entity control for payroll process? Sir, whenever there is a new joinee, salary, increment, or person leaving the company, all should be authorized. Okay, sir. For the service organization doing the payroll accounting, the basic control could be monthly payroll calculation should be proper. Whatever deductions are there, EPF, ESI, TDS, they should be proper. Now to support the service organization controls, there should be complementary user entity control. Unless the user entity send the data, how will they do the payroll calculation? So user entity should send the payroll data for processing on time. Plus, whenever the calculations are done by SO, they should review the registers and communicate the errors to the SO. So three types of controls are user entity general controls, SO controls, and complementary user entity control. These two controls go hand in hand, SO and complementary user entity controls. Okay, boss? Okay, sir. So I hope now these 3 points are clear. User auditor will take understanding of what? Three types of control. First of all, user entities controls, sufficient and appropriate evidence for user entities control. Second, SO's control, description and design of the control at the SO at a date or appropriate period. And to support these control, we have complementary user entity control. Complementary user entity control identified by SO. Yes, then understand the design and implementation of such control. Clear, boss? Clear, sir. Now we are done with this topic. Then it says definition of complementary controls. You can just read through it. That refers to the control that service organization is assuming that these are necessary to achieve the control objectives given in the service organization system. Now, sir, since you have done the risk assessment, that means you have taken the understanding of control. Now you can move towards the testing of control. So see whether you got sufficient and appropriate evidence regarding the financial statement assertions from the user entity records. If not, then you can do further procedures yourself to get the evidence, or you can use another auditor to get the evidence. Okay. Okay, sir. This part you just need to read. Now let's talk about the test of control. The question is, why do we do the test of control? Why do we need to do the test of control? So the answer is simple. The answer lies in the other two procedure. What are the audit procedure? Risk assessment procedure, further audit procedure. When I talk about risk assessment procedure, first of all, you take the understanding to assess the risk of material misstatement. Now, when I am assessing the risk of material misstatement, let's say I assess the risk to be 10%, inherent risk is 40, control risk is 25. So can I say I have an expectation that controls are 75% effective? Yes, sir. So whenever you have such expectation, you need to test the control. Okay, sir. Second point, can you check each and every transaction in substantive procedure? No, sir. Since you cannot test each and every transaction in substantive procedure is not enough. You need to do the test of control. So this is the same thing given in your book. Whenever your risk assessment has an expectation that the controls at service organization are operating effectively. So to test the operating effectiveness, you need to do the test of control. Tell me, how can you do the test of control? Sir, the easiest way is get the type 2 report. Get the type 2 report so you can obtain the type 2 report because it discusses about TOC. Second thing, you can go and test the control performing test of control. If you don't want to go, send someone else. That means another auditor to perform the test of control. So these are the three ways of doing the test of control. Now ICI can ask you, how do you use type 2 report to do the test of control? So these are the 4 points you need to consider. Please look at the board. Okay, sir. These 4 points are nothing but the points we discuss in the type 2 report. Type 2 report talks about the controls. It talks about the controls operating effectively throughout the period. And at the end of the type 2 report, we talk about test of controls and their results. These are the 4 points you need to cover. Now, whenever I am talking about the controls at the service organization, what controls will come automatically? Complementary user entity control. So you will evaluate these are the aspects that you need to consider. Evaluate the description, design, and operating effectiveness of the control at the service organization. To support them, the controls, complementary user entity controls. Then see adequacy of the time period which is covered by the test of control and the time which has been elapsed since the test of control. How much time has gone since the date you last tested the controls. And lastly, whether the test of control and results, they provide sufficient and appropriate evidence. So all the points that we cover in type 2 report, these are the points you need to evaluate. Clear, boss? Clear, sir. Please take 2 sips of water, then we'll cover the last aspect of this standard. Ready, sir. Now on this part, I think we have one question. Question number 3. Happy Hospital. Happy Hospital is a user entity which is taking help of a service organization called CT contractor. CAZ, who is the user auditor, he is concerned about the controls at the CT contractor. That means service organization, whether they are effectively operating or not. Which type of report should he take to know about the operating effectiveness? Type 1 or type 2? Sir, type 1 report does not talk about operating effectiveness. He should go ahead with the type 2 report. Okay, sir. Then what aspects will he consider? The answer is very simple. First of all, he will check the controls at the service organization and complementary user entity control, whether they are properly designed, implemented and operating effectively. DIO, designed, implemented and operating effectively. Okay, sir. Then whatever time period they have covered, whether that time period is adequate and how much time has elapsed. And lastly, the test of controls and results, whether they provide sufficient and appropriate evidence or not. Clear, boss? Clear, sir. Then we discussed a small concept. This concept is not given in the study material, but it is relevant for you to solve a question. Generally, user entity outsource the service to a service organization. Sometimes the service organization also outsource the services to a sub-service organization. So the way SA 402 is applicable to service organization, same way it is applicable to the SSO. Service auditor, when he is providing the type 1 or type 2 report about the controls at the SO, in that about the SSO, he can include the information or exclude the information. If in the report of SO, he is including the SSO information, it is called inclusive method. You can be happy because you are getting to know about the SSO through one report. If he is excluding the information, this is called a carve out method. Now for the SSO, you will have to do the same procedure for understanding. Sir, what was the procedure? Tring. Contacting the sub-service organization through the user entity. Second point, if they are not picking the call, visiting the sub-service organization. If there is a pain in the legs, asking someone else, another auditor. And lastly, you can take a type 1 or type 2 report from the sub-service organization. So this part you just need to have an understanding. Now, sir, let's do the last 2 topics from the book. What are the last 2 topics? Fraud, no-clar or uncorrected misstatement at the service organization. If such type of things happen, that means the internal controls are weak. So inquire the management of the user entity about all this and consider its impact on your further audit procedures and conclusions. Okay. Then, sir, reporting by the user auditor. This is similar to SA 620. Modify the opinion if you don't get sufficient and appropriate evidence about the services provided by service organization. Don't refer the work of service auditor in case of an unmodified opinion unless required by law regulation. Even if it is required, give a reference that it does not diminish your responsibility for the opinion. You are still responsible. If the reference is relevant to understand the modification of opinion, then you can refer. But again, it does not diminish your responsibility for the opinion. Now on this last concept, we discussed another question, question number 4. Sir, what happened in question 4? Everyone please look at the board. Nothing happened in question 4, just read the last para. CA Raman, while reviewing the unmodified report, found that a reference was given to the work of service auditor. In the unmodified report, do you think a reference should be given to the service auditor? No, sir. So he asked the assistant to remove the reference and modify the report. That means change the report accordingly. Did he did right? Did he do the right thing? Yes, sir. He did the right thing. He did the right thing. So this is what you need to comment as per SA 402. Just write about the reporting part. Modify the opinion if you don't get sufficient and appropriate evidence. In case of unmodified opinion, don't refer the work unless required by law regulation. Even if it is required, give a reference that it does not diminish the auditor's responsibility. So the contention of CA Raman in removing the reference is absolutely correct. Okay, boss. Okay, sir. So with this, the whole SA 402, along with all the concepts and questions is done. But before I say tata bye-bye, I have a surprise for all of you. Yes, sir. 5 minutes revision. 5 minutes revision of SA 402, 1-pager revision of 402. So everyone just look at the board and within 5 minutes, we will quickly revise whatever we discussed in this revision. SA 402 audit consideration for user entity using a service organization. The first topic that we studied, SO service is relevant to the user entity financial reporting process when it affects the whole financial reporting process. First of all, you see the transaction, that means Scott's significant class of transaction. Then see how the information system captures events and conditions. Events and condition other than the significant class of transaction. Then procedures and accounting records, manual or automated, used to initiate, record, process, rectify and transfer to the general ledger and post in the financial statements. Then sir, financial reporting process to prepare the financial statement, non-standard journal entry, that is UNNU. Sir, what was UNNU? Adjustment entries, non-recurring entries and unusual entries. Okay, sir. Then understanding the nature and extent of services, nature and significance of service, nature and materiality of transaction. Transaction leads to interaction and interaction leads to relationship. Degree of interaction between the user entity and SO, nature of relationship between the user entity and SO. How to get this understanding from the user entity? If not able to get, contact the SO through the user entity, visit them, take the help of another auditor or take it a type 1, type 2 report. Type 1 report talks about the description of system, SO's assertion that it is a fair description, controls are properly designed on a particular date and a reasonable assurance report on all of this. Type 2 report is also similar, description of the system, SO's assertion, fair description, controls are designed, but additionally it talks about the operating effectiveness of control, reasonable assurance plus TOC and results throughout the period. Using a type 1 or type 2 report to support the understanding of service organization. So first of all, be satisfied that service auditor has competence, independence and done the work as per standard. Then evaluate 3 types of control. Design and implementation of service organization controls for a date and particular period. Okay, sir. Then user entity controls, see whether they provide sufficient and appropriate evidence through this report. And then complementary user entity control, if identified by SO, whether they are designed and implemented. Then, sir, why do we do the TOCs? Why? Why do we do the TOCs? Because there is an expectation that controls are operating effectively. So from the service organization, you can get a type 2 report, you can test on your own or you can ask the other auditor. Through the type 2 report, how do you get sufficient and appropriate evidence about the effectiveness of control? What aspects to consider? So first of all, description, design and operating effectiveness of control at the SO and complementary user entity control. Then see the period covered and elapsed since the date of TOC and results, whether they give sufficient and appropriate evidence. Fraud, no clear, uncorrected misstatement, inquire about the same. Consider the impact on your further audit procedure, reporting and conclusion. And lastly, in the audit report, if it is an unmodified opinion, don't refer the work of service auditor. If it is a modified opinion and it is relevant, then you can refer, but it does not diminish your responsibility as a user auditor. It does not reduce your responsibility for the opinion in the audit report. Thank you so much, everyone. If the video was useful for you, do give it a like. Do let me know in comments how was the experience, and yes, stay subscribed to this channel for more such amazing revision videos, because when we study with happiness, then only we progress. Done.